His ethics allegation against current North Charleston Mayor Keith Summey was thrown out last week by the State Ethics Commission. In this special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I speak exclusively with former North Charleston mayoral candidate John Singletary. Mr. Singletary.
How you doing today?
It's so good to see you. I'm great, actually.
Good seeing you again.
Yeah, long time since I've seen you.
Yeah, it's been quite a while, since 2015.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me, as we sit here right now, what is it like to be John Singletary?
It's great. I've always been John Singletary.
Yes.
I can't imagine being anyone else.
Yeah.
Life is good. Life is good.
Well, I'll tell you what's not good is this particular article that appeared in the Post-Inquiry on August 16th. It says, quote here, the headline, State dismisses ethics complaints against Mayor Summey. Let me read a part of the Post-Inquiry article to you.
Sure.
John Singletary, who ran unsuccessfully against Summey in last year's mayoral race, filed a complaint with the State Ethics Commission on September 11th, accusing the mayor of violating state law that prevents contractors who receive no-bid contracts from contributing to political candidates. The law, known as the state's pay-to-play rule, also forbids officials from soliciting contributions in exchange for the award of a contract. After its review, of the commission's review that is, they found that Summey did not violate the law and did not solicit the only contribution he received from a company that was a no-bid city contract. And I'm wondering, when you hear that, what sticks out to you?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is that the State Ethics Commission did what it did in a previous case where it was found guilty of concealing information. All of the information that I provided to the Ethics Commission was not in there in that report. There were several companies that contributed to the election campaign that also received non-bid contracts. The state pay-to-play law is very simple. There's two parts to it. The first part says clearly the only thing required to constitute pay-to-play for the contractor is that they receive a non-bid contract, which many of them did, and that they pay into the election campaign for the official who to influence. In this case, let's just take Citrus for instance. Citrus's contract was signed by the mayor himself, and they contributed to the election campaign. That's all that's necessary to constitute pay-to-play for the contractor. Now, the second part of that law, which deals with the public official, deals with some intent. In order to get to the intent, they would first need to have a copy of the contract. They would also need to have the payment, and then they could further investigate the elected official. The thing that comes to mind is the fact that we provided that complaint early September, before the race even was decided.
Right.
Folly Beach also, several different people provided a complaint. The Ethics Commission quickly took care of that and found the mayor guilty of what was alleged. In this case, not only did they fail and refuse to move forward with an investigation, they gave the reason that they could not resolve it 30 days prior to the race. Well, that may be true, it may not be. But after taking a look at it, they initially found that there was just cause to move forward. They did more negotiating than investigating. He hired a former senator to come in and to, for one solid year, negotiate when they should have been investigating. The investigation, it didn't appear, moved forward at all. At the end of August, of course, they announced that they, and it's their announcement, and that's fine, that they found that there was no just cause to find that there was pay-to-play. When you have someone return money, why would they return it if in fact it was okay to have it from the start? In this case, they say that it is because they rather err on the side of caution. Well, do you wait till someone brings the issue up, then give the money back? Why did you not give it back from the initial beginning when you actually received it? So you give money back, you hire an attorney before the investigation is taking place, and that person negotiates for a solid year, and then after that, you find the person did not commit anything wrong. That's almost like a PTI program, where it's pretrial intervention. What should have happened was the investigation should have been concluded, and then turn it over to the Attorney General. And then if they decided to move forward, then the person's attorney gets involved. To allow the attorney to come on and negotiate for a year during the investigation, it doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right at all.
And speaking of which, you're talking with Summey's attorney, Paul Thurman, who's going to be the former state senator as when November comes. Mm-hmm. He basically says that the order is pretty self-explanatory, and it's designed for Singletary and his manipulation of a body whose job is really to look into legitimate cases. You say?
Well, what I say is very clear. Look on the website for the Ethics Commission. The Ethics Commission's website tells citizens that if in fact you suspect an elected official has been involved in any type of financial wrongdoing, which pay-to-play is, they themselves ask you to report that. So as a citizen, I simply did what they asked me to do. Now, whether or not integrity leads them to follow up on it, I can't do anything about it. I did as a citizen what I was instructed to do by that commission. And so I can't make them do the right thing. All I can do is report it like they've asked me to do, which is what I did. I don't take any credit, nor do I justify their decision. I think it was a wrong decision. Just like the previous situation where they concealed information during an investigation. It was wrong. I think that this is wrong. Not against me, but against the people. The people who have been, in this case, duped because integrity within the race itself, as well as integrity, in my opinion, in terms of the Ethics Commission, has not been maintained.
Speaking of the commission, they said this: filing multiple complaints containing identical allegations against the same respondent does nothing more than waste the commission's time. Whoever is responsible for recruiting individuals to file 18 ethics complaints or creating a fraudulent complaint in another person's name is not acting in a manner consistent with the goals of the Ethics Act. What is going on?
I don't know. I mean, I can't say they didn't mention a name. They may be talking about the Folly Beach case where several complaints went in. Okay. So without them mentioning a name, I have no clue whether or not they are even talking about this complaint. And if so, every complaint that comes to them has a name on it. Should have a number on it, so all they have to do is follow up with the individual who submitted the complaint. I submitted a complaint, one complaint, to them, and I asked them to do what their job is, what their goal is, their mission is, which is to investigate.
Let's go back to June 21st. This was tweeted out by Channel 5. Just then, judge dismisses lawsuit filed against Live 5 News by former North Charleston mayoral candidate John Singletary. When you heard that, what was going through your mind?
Again, who controls the narrative? In this case, it is those who have been opposed to someone being African American being the mayor of North Charleston. The mayor dismissed the complaint on 12B6, failure to state a claim for which relief could be granted. Of course, on a 1983 action, a 12B6 does not dispose of, it's not dispositive. So in that situation, we asked for reconsideration, which is on the table now. So that complaint is not over with, by far. The complaint was not dismissed because they were correct or we were incorrect. It was dismissed because they're saying that I didn't put enough in the complaint. Of course, we know that I filed the case pro se, and pro se litigants, their complaint should be liberally construed. I had an attorney eventually on the case. My attorney was denied the right to amend the complaint. They admitted in the transcript, which is public information, that the attorney initially they said that the attorney filed an amended complaint, which is simply not true. My attorney did not sign or file any complaints. The judge finally admitted that her signature was not on the complaint, that they claimed it was. And so we've asked for a reconsideration based on three things. One, the fact that the opposing party misconduct and fraud upon the court by submitting fraudulent documentation to the court. State, county, and federal documentation prove that the document that they submitted has fraudulent information. For instance, they said that on the 27th of January 2010, I was incarcerated in the county jail. The county records totally contradict that. I was arrested, as I said before, on the 26th, released on the 26th. North Charleston's fraudulent document says that I was in jail from the 26th through the 31st. On the 27th, I was in Columbia in a United States Department of Justice meeting, signed in, and their documentation proved that. On the 28th, I was a guest speaker at the military magnet for Career Day. They're claiming, the major thing is that, one, the judge fails and refuses to take a look at the meat of the complaint, which is the fact that notice was never given in that case. The second thing, and the third thing that we were requesting the reconsideration was for abuse of discretion and for error in law. When you have someone who is not been given notice, state law requires that when there is a criminal case, which that was, that in order to have an in absentia case, two things are required. The first thing is that the judge in that case, and in this case their document shows no judge at all, none whatsoever, and it's not a certified document, and it's not a self-authenticating document. And so the first thing is that it shows that state law was violated because it requires that you have a summons to prove that the person was served notice to be in court. North Charleston says that a phone call was what was used 2 days prior to that court hearing to tell me to come to court. That's in violation of the law. Second thing is that state law requires that you have, in addition to the summons, you have where the person has been warned that if they fail to show up, that at that point the case can proceed without them if they have been served and warned. The warning comes when you have a bond hearing. When you sign, it warns you, and the judge warns you, that if you choose not to come to court, then you will be tried in your absence. In this case, North Charleston is saying that I had a bond hearing on the 27th. County records show I was released on the 26th. So how can you have a bond hearing the day after the person has been released? You have no record of the bond. The county has no record of the bond, no record of any bond judge. And so there are the two things required by state law, which is a summons and complaint and a warning, that are missing. So that being the case, they had no legal capacity to have any court case whatsoever. And as a result, how in the world could they have a case on the 5-4 when there was no notice and there was no warning? It's impossible. Now, the Constitution for the United States says that, and the Supreme Court says that in opposition, contradiction to the South Carolina law, that the only time you can proceed with a criminal case is if, in fact, you have the individual in court. You cannot proceed without the accused being there, which means that if I was not there, they could not have held court. The Supreme Court says there's only two reasons why you can move forward. One is if the individual is there, they disrupt the court, and after a warning, they continue and you remove them. But they were there at the beginning. The second would be if they show up for court, you begin the proceeding, and then they decide to leave. But at any rate, the person accused must be there to begin the trial. So there's a direct contradiction there that's a later case for South Carolina to have to deal with. But in this case, there's several other things that come to mind that have to be dealt with. In addition to never even being served a summons and not being given a warning, when I requested exculpatory evidence, North Charleston sent me a refund. The only kind of bond refund, time you can get one bond refund, is when there's a case and it's been a person is found not guilty, or if in fact it is dismissed, they've been exonerated, and you give them the refund back.
Okay.
So how in the world they get a case out of that, I have no idea.